Well, if you're like me, you probably still feel a little bit of metaphorical whiplash as we are still headfirst into this transgender agenda and activism. And you look around, it's like, where did all this come from? It was like 5 minutes ago when it was ridiculous to think that a biological male would intrude on a girl's private space where a 14-year-old girl in her high school would be exposed against her will and against her consent to male genitalia. But now you need to accept it or you're a bigot. How did we get here? Where did it come from? Well, joining us right now is somebody who might be able to shed a little light on it. She's Jaimee Mitchell. She's the founder and president of Gays Against Groomers. And I know I sound like an old cis white male Christian yelling about these things, but I'm not the only one, Jaimee. This is like, where did all this come from?
Well, I think that it has to do with oppression and victimhood being very powerful in this country. I'm not really sure. After we won our rights, which were hard fought, and just, we won the right to get married and have the same rights as every other American in this country. And then, as far as I'm concerned, we should have packed it up and gone home and just gone about living our lives. That's what I wanted to do. That's what everybody in Gays Against Groomers wanted to do, and the millions of LGBT people that we represent. But the radicals seem to have a different agenda, and
Yeah.
nobody had a problem with gay people, with trans people, until they crossed the red line and started attacking children and also going after women's spaces and erasing them essentially. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
very disturbing.
I think it's very noteworthy that you just said LGB. You didn't include all the other letters that now come after it, and I've always wondered about that. I've worked with and been friends with and family members with gay men and women my entire life. Most people our generation now have, and the people that I know who are gay or lesbian, they don't have anything in common with people who are transgender. It's a very different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the mindset that they should have never been lumped in together. Being gay, being LGB is who you love, being T is who you are or who you believe you are. They're really not relatable in any way or
Yeah.
similar. But they lump us all together, and that you can see a big pushback happening for the divorce now. So, essentially divorcing the T. But there are transsexual people that also agree with what we're doing. We have a few in our organization, but
Yes.
overall, I don't believe that they belong grouped together. No.
I've seen that, and by the way, it's a good moment to say we're not talking about individuals here necessarily. We're talking about the movement. We're talking about the activists. We're talking about the people who use this issue for political power. And is that kind of what happened? There are a lot. I mean, you sort of alluded to it. There are a lot of very well-funded gay rights, lesbian rights organizations who, as you put it, won hard-fought battles. It's not like they're going to disband. There's a lot of money in activism. Did they sort of transition, if I may say, to supporting trans rights now because that's just the business?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, that's a big cash cow. You can't just pack it up and go home. There's no money in that. So there's
Yeah.
there's always, new ways to figure out how to say you're oppressed, even though that's not true. Or the big lie right now is that there's some sort of trans genocide happening, and I think that goes hand in hand with the radical extremism that you see from these trans activists. If you're being told that your people are being wiped out and killed and genocided, what wouldn't you do to stop that? So,
Right.
I think that we're at a boiling point in this culture war, and I remain hopeful. Even though they're insane and things seem to be getting worse, at the same time, things are getting better. I mean, Gays Against Groomers has assisted in passing 19 states passing child protection laws that outlaw child sterilization and mutilation. So, we're it's a
That's
battle, but I think that we will win it in the end.
I agree. I think that the victories of the last 6 months, not just in public opinion, but very real legislative victories, have been incredible, and the pendulum is swinging. Thanks in part to your group's work. I want to talk about the group because even the name of your group, for some reason, people get angry and they get, what's controversial about being gay and against groomers? First of all, I'm told that there's no such thing as a groomer, that it's a disparaging remark, that it's an insult, it's a myth. Is that so, or is there a real basis here for being worried about the attempted grooming of children who are not able to give consent?
Oh no, it's very real, and I take big I have a big problem with people saying that groomer is an anti-LGBTQ slur. I think that that is an admission that all of us are aligned with the attack on children, and all of us are participating in it, which is not true. I think that labeling groomer an anti-LGBTQ slur is actually doing more harm to our community because everybody should speak out against what's happening to these children. And I actually
Mm,
do find that this is the most uniting cause on earth. But no, obviously there's grooming going on, and you don't have to, grooming isn't always sexual. It can be an ideological grooming, which we see in the schools. It could be grooming by these therapists and doctors to medicalize these children very young, to have them permanently hooked up to the medical industrial complex. And it's very sad. And no, I knew
yeah.
when I came up with the name Gays Against Groomers, I knew it was going to get a lot of attention. It's pretty fiery. I knew that we'd be facing that. But
Yeah.
we get a lot of hate, and I would think that we weren't being effective enough if that wasn't the case. So I'm happy about it. I don't mind it.
We like fiery and provocative here. It gets people's attention, and attention needs to be paid. Now, activists will say this. They'll say, listen, a lot of these feelings, a lot of these attractions, a lot of these questions of identity, it happens when you're a child. It happens as you're getting into adolescence. These children are afraid they'll be demonized or abused or abandoned by their parents. So we're not grooming them. We're just trying to give them support in a safe environment to explore themselves and explore what their attractions are, whatever it is. I mean, is there some basis for that?
No, I don't think so. There's one way to teach acceptance. You can just say some families look different, and that's okay. But what we see now happening in schools is, you've seen a lot of these books. They're literal pornography being put in these schools for children, and that doesn't teach inclusivity. And I think that that's really insulting to us as gays and lesbians. I mean, why not highlight some doctors, gay doctors, or gay lawyers, or just upstanding citizens of society, and show that no matter who you love, you're equal, you're just the same as everybody else, and that should really be the end of the discussion, especially in schools. But we see them, these teachers decorating their entire classroom with the rainbow, and it's becoming almost trendy. It's becoming like the punk rock of decades ago.
Yeah,
Or gothic, the goth phase. Except these kids,
right.
when they go through these phases, they're being hooked up to the medical industry, and their lives are being destroyed. You see the detransitioner wave right now, and that's going
Yeah,
to continue to happen. It's so sad. You People like Chloe Cole and many others who were medicalized as youth that changed their mind, because shocker, kids go through phases and change their mind all the time. No child
yeah.
can consent, and no child can make permanent decisions, especially about their bodies. So
One other aspect of this that I'd love to explore with you as a gay woman, as a lesbian, and that I'm reading studies that show that a lot of these young girls who are being pushed down this path of gender transition, they're really probably just gay. They're just lesbian, but in some way that's looked down upon. That's not as cool. It's even not as acceptable for some reason because of all of the focus on transgenderism. Do you have an opinion about that?
I do. As you can see, my hoodie says "Save the Tomboys." That's like one of our main campaigns, because uh, they're being eradicated. I'm a tomboy. I grew up. I wear men's clothes. I've always been a tomboy. Not a day in my life did I want to be a man or a boy. The issue is that we see a lot of these kids. We see ourselves in these children right now, because gender nonconformity is very large within the gay demographic, gay population. It's okay, it's interesting because this new trans movement is kind of bringing us back to the point of rigid gender stereotypes, which gays and lesbians, kind of
Yeah,
fought to dismantle for a long time, because it
yeah,
is okay to be a more butch or a more masculine woman. It's okay to be a feminine boy or a man. That doesn't mean that you need to get yourself on chemical castration drugs and hormones and have surgeries. It's just ridiculous, and I think it's
yeah.
incredibly evil to tell children that that if a little girl happens to like playing with the boys or playing sports more than playing with Barbies and wearing dresses, that she's actually born in the wrong body. I mean, it's really it's
It's
absolutely insane.
destructive. It is, and
Oh,
it's sad. And I can tell you, as a straight man who loves Broadway show tunes, I'm all in for gender nonconformity. Thank you for joining us. There's more to come on O'Connor tonight.